we do have some breaking news here. It looks like a federal judge temporarily blocked the end of protections for Haitians in the U.S. The ruling.
pardon me.
The ruling pauses the Trump administration's plan to end a program that allowed more than 350,000 people from Haiti to remain in the United States. A federal judge on Monday temporarily blocked the Trump administration from ending a humanitarian protection for more than 350,000 Haitians who have been able to live and work in the United States under what is known as temporary protected status. So no surprise there. Another activist judge says, of course you can't deport people who shouldn't be here. That would mean you have some kind of, I don't know, executive power. It's like you were elected to do something. It's my job, of course, to stop you immediately. Now,
you'll never guess what she looks like.
if I was in the Mos Eisley Cantina, would that help me guess her name?
It helps.
I'm surprised.
Oh,
It
no.
helps.
Okay.
Which one?
All right. The other direction.
Yeah.
On the left?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She looks like a good boy.
So the temporary protected status here we see in the article is a designation that's created by the U.S. government and can give to countries grappling with natural disasters, armed conflicts, or other acute crisis, make conditions in their country particularly dangerous. There's only one problem. That's just Haiti all the time.
Yeah,
That's just an excuse to move all of Haiti here all the time. And guys, we were talking about this a little bit in the behind the scenes, the green room beforehand, but I think this is a big shift because previously when we talked about immigration, conservatives, Republicans, they were always terrified even to talk about immigration restriction. But one of the things they were very careful about was to always make it about the individual. It's about the individual person. We can't judge groups. We can't talk about groups. We can't prefer groups. We have to judge each individual on their own. And instead, what we're seeing is increasingly conservatives are comfortable saying, no, there are countries, peoples, religions, traditions that are not compatible with us, that are not ultimately going to help the U.S., is not going to contribute to the overall well-being of the American people. So whether it's Somalia or Haiti or whatever country we're looking at, if ultimately we deem that country to not be worth our time, to not be contributing, it's okay to just say blanket, no, we are not interested in having people from that country here. And I think that's actually a monumental shift in the rhetoric and framing when it comes to the immigration issue.
Implicit bias saves lives. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I think if you live your life in whatever bubble you live in, you have a pretty good idea of who you surround yourself with and the actions of those around you. And if you formulate opinions based on your own bubble, and those opinions happen to be what some people call racist, I would say, well, you go live in those places and live around the same people. But there is a reason why people do self-select and self-sort throughout the entire country. There is. People like to be safe and like to be around like-minded people. And that's not terrible. That's not a terrible thing. I like people that I have things in common with.
Yeah, literally. Like, this is like the whole thing is because it's great that we're able to like address Haitians and Somalians and stuff, but it's downstream from the real, I guess the real conclusion that we should be coming to, which is like the demographic composition of your country is like a very valid discussion to have. And for whatever reason, like, people in the West aren't allowed to have that, but pretty much every other country is allowed to like have a conversation like, what do I want my culture to look like? What do I want my country to look like? The actual composition of the country. You always in the United States have to predicate it with like, some economic argument or perhaps that they're just extremely violent, which is true. And those are arguments that I use myself. But even if like they were just top performers, I should still be able to say, like, for example, like the Chinese, maybe I'd be like, well, yeah, but that still changes my country. And I would like my country, my kids, my grandkids, the country to look like my country that I grew up in.
We're not honest people. Like, school choice exists because if I had a choice to send my kids to a school that's on MLK versus a school that's not on MLK, I mean, I'm definitely choosing the school not on MLK.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think the Chinese argument or the China argument is a little different. I think it's a bad example because China's an adversary, and every single Chinese person that has family in China, every single Chinese person here that also has family in China could be compromised because they will apply pressure to their family, throw them in jail to get the people that are here. So I understand the point you're making, but when it comes to China, they're absolutely an adversary, and the idea that they're in any way should be partnered with or anything, it is a terrible idea. Every single Chinese person with family back home is compromised currently, and it should be completely obvious to any serious government that that's the case. So we should do everything we can to make sure that we send Chinese people back to China because they will absolutely be used against us by their own government.
We got to stop apologizing. Like, that's the end of this conversation. We have to stop apologizing. We have to understand where we are, how we got here, and do the exact opposite. And we can't be apologetic about it. I know it's going to get messy. People's lives will be lost at the end of this, but what is the alternative?
Yeah.
And that's the real question, is everything has been half measures up to this point. As Phil is even saying, how can we even treat our government as serious if they're not going to expel Chinese students, Chinese nationals who are here? We know for a fact we just busted a few Chinese nationals smuggling things in and out of the United States, scientific secrets,
Smuggling diseases.
bringing biological weapons or biological material that's dangerous in the United States. This is not some isolated incident. This is a common occurrence, and yet we never address it because we want the money. That's what Trump said, right? Straight up. We need them to fund our universities, which is garbage because obviously we want Americans to go to our universities, and it's fine if a few of those collapse because ultimately they're just teaching children to hate their parents and to hate America anyway. So ultimately that wouldn't be some travesty if we lost it, but we can look to a different example. We could look to someone like Japan, who is a true ally, who I think most people would feel very comfortable saying is an advanced and honorable culture. I would say that's a culture worth admiring, but it's still not my culture. I want Japan to be Japanese in 50 years, and I want America to be American. And that doesn't mean I don't love Japanese culture. I don't think they're awesome. I don't respect it. It just means I respect it so much, I want it to exist. And the same thing's true of the United States. And as you're saying, we should be able to say that. That's okay. We are a people in a place living in a certain way, and there's no reason to pretend that that we're the only civilization history that's entirely abstract, entirely ideological. You can just change out the people and nothing matters. No, I'm sorry. Our culture is great. Our principles are great. Our way of life is great, but it comes from the people. It comes from the tradition we have grown up in, and you cannot simply bring someone from Haiti or Somalia in and just slap them into some American university, give them a social security number, and call it a day. That does not make them an American.
We're called a melting pot, right? That's fine. Like not all immigration is terrible. I think we have some great immigrants here who actually love our country, who escaped communism. I want those people. I want those people. Those people are great, right? But if we're a melting pot, then we're a solution, right? Our solution, and if there's a faucet of migrants coming in, illegals coming in, you're going to supersaturate that solution. The whole thing has to be titrated, distilled, and then fixed. We're at supersaturation. It's time to distill, figure out what makes America, the good parts of America, keep that, and get rid of the rest.
You got to let it melt. Like, you bring these pieces and parts into the pot, but if it's too many too fast, you got a chunky mess. So you have to spend. People need to homogenize. They come in. That's why we say about the individual. You bring one person in, surround them with Americans that are indoctrinating them. 10 years, 15 years, they're probably going to be pretty American. But if you bring 500 Haitians in and they're surrounding one American, it's a completely inverted scenario where this one guy is going to potentially develop sympathies or become Haitian-minded, Yeah,
you get ethnic enclaves. And we even had this problem with Ellis Island immigration. When the Ellis Island wave of immigrants came in, these are coming from countries that were very close to the United States culturally speaking, as far as you had Irish, Italians, the only big massive difference they had from other Western European countries that they're Catholic, not Protestant, and even they had a lot of issues assimilating. They would create these massive ethnic enclaves, these gangs. They basically took over the Democrat Party in a lot of ways, and so we had these massive problems with Ellis Island, and we make it out on the other side. And instead of rubbing our brow and be wow, we made it out of that in one piece, we're no, let's make it worse and just expand the definition of who should come here.
Well, the problem is every time we bring that up, the left treats that as we can assimilate people. That's proof we can assimilate people. No, that's proof that you could just barely assimilate people close to you. We forget the fact that the Germans had to be forced to break up many of their ethnic neighborhoods. They often their kids had to be sent to schools to learn English because they did not want to assimilate. There was an active, just Germans who we think of as pretty American at this point in the United States were put in internment camps along with the Japanese during World War II for the fear that some of them might be traitors. That's how it wasn't that long ago where these were very foreign people.
And we shut down immigration for 40 years too, didn't we? Something like that.
Because it took 2 wars for them to finally buy their ticket. Okay, you have stake here. Okay, we got it. These people now literally just rock up. There's no back. There's no way for them to actually buy stake in the country in any tangible way. They're just really here to benefit. You look at it, they have outsized welfare participation. It's just unbelievable. Everywhere you look, it's just every single argument you could possibly make for mass migration, it just falls flat on its face.
I was in that liberal mind spiral in 2006, 7, 8, and I was very much I like culture bombing. I like going to a neighborhood that is not my culture and becoming the culture of that neighborhood, and then meeting all the locals, and they look up to me and they want to be more like the American, and I love doing that. But then I'm realizing so do other people. They love coming here and they love just changing Americans the way I like to change whoever in Little Italy or whatever. Now you're American.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged blade, that desire to change people's culture.
Yeah, I was reading online about a Japanese tourist who came to Los Angeles and was really disappointed to find that there was like virtually no Americans in the places he was visiting. And that made me pretty sad because I'm like, I'm so proud of the United States and so proud of my culture and et cetera that I do want tourists to come here and be like amazed by what we have and sort of our people and that sort of thing. And I found that story really heartbreaking. Like, a lot of people laughed at this. They're like, wow, that really shows the state Los Angeles is in. I'm like, yeah, because they're not going to, I mean, no offense, but they're not going to visit Nebraska. Like, they're going to visit Los Angeles. They're going to visit New York City. They're going to visit Chicago. These places should be dripping in American culture to where a Japanese person, whoever arrives to visit for a week and they're like blown away by how rich and deep our culture is, and it's just not happening anymore.
I've noticed in tourist spots, though, I travel quite a bit, and like even when I go to these places that are very tourist heavy, like there's not a lot of me there.
Right.
There's not a lot of me there, and it worries me because like, is it just because we're working to pay for everyone to be here? Because where are people like me?
They're running away, right? Like, this is the key. You got to remember that even the phrase "the melting pot" is accepting leftist propaganda. Like, this was a phrase that was worked out by a Jewish playwright and was adopted by a lot of culturally influenced people. But ultimately, even though Teddy Roosevelt took a look at it, he decided to reject it. He said he wanted something that understood that America was more of a consistent culture. You could still add people to it. It was never the idea that no one could join, but understanding that these people are assimilating to your culture. You're not bringing their culture in. They have to completely immerse themselves. They have to be completely willing to become part of your group. That's what matters. And so that's the thing that you need to keep in mind. This is why classic immigration, classic assimilation was always considered to be multi-generational. Aristotle and I think Aquinas eventually talked about 3-generation immigration and how that allows you to ultimately vet whether or not someone is absorbing the culture, they're going to contribute, they're interested in actually assimilating and not just creating some kind of ethnic beachhead. And that's what allows you. It's the time, it's the investment, it's the multi-generational effort. That's what shows that you're somebody who wants to be part of a culture, who wants to be an American.
Was the formations of Little Italy, Little Korea, all these little homogenized
Chinatown.
like sub-communities, was that a newer than adaptation? Because it sounds like if Teddy Roosevelt, he didn't want those things.
Since the 1800s.
Was it just like we have no choice? The
It
amount
actually
of
used to,
influx?
it used to be on a bigger scale. There would be entire regions that were like German speaking, French speaking. Like, this was on a larger scale. But yeah, you had like Chinatown pockets. That's always been that way. At least since like the foundation of a lot of these cities. Like San Francisco's always had a Chinatown, these sorts of things. Just because, like, again, someone arrives here from another country, they're going to want to like it's a very natural thing. I bet if a bunch of Americans moved to China, we'd probably pack into a little spot.
So you're saying it used
New
to
Orleans
be
is still like that.
Yeah.
New Orleans. It used to be just like a huge section of foreigners, Germans here, Norwegians here.
Densely populated.
and
This is why you still see the Dutch in certain parts. This is why you still see, these different cultures still manifest themselves in the Midwest or the Northeast. You can continually see the kind of the ethnic imprint. But the difference is, America was forming at that time, and we had to fill a lot of land. We had to conquer. We had an entire continent basically that we needed to take over, because if we didn't, some other European power was going to do it, right? And so we had to fill that land. That's why you saw so many large waves of immigration, especially as we pushed west, because if we just simply didn't put physical bodies in those areas, I mean, think about what's still happening near the Mexican border, right? We never truly populated those areas. And so in a way, kind of just whether we draw these kind of artificial lines or not, the natural barrier of the people who live there actually dictates who owns what area of any given nation. So we were that way when we were forming, but we're beyond that now. And it's okay to say this was the way we had to be when we were becoming a nation. But now that we've done that, we're something else. Rome started as a collection of thieves and criminals who came together originally. I don't think that's how they ultimately defined themselves 1,000 years later, saying, well, we were founded by thieves and criminals, so that's just who we are. They understood that there were different moments in their history. They went from being a kingdom to a republic to an empire. And it's okay as Americans to realize, okay, there was a moment where large-scale immigration and kind of these ethnic enclaves were a part of who we are. But now we have to unify and we have to become something else. And we no longer need to bring in, 20, 30, 40 million people to conquer the frontier. There is no frontier. anymore. So we don't have to act that way.
Having like 500,000 Germans on the frontier is just like not the same as like Bengali neighborhoods in the biggest city in our country.
Once we need to populate Mars and we're in a rush to lay bodies down on the surface, we'll just be like, look,
We'll
it's
send
dangerous.
the Haitians. There we go.
What's that?
We'll send the Haitians.
That's what I'm saying. You come to America, we launch you as an American when you land, and you're going to pioneer the danger. And if you survive, you can have the plot. And
I want to
that's
be
like-
in charge of checking the fuel lines.
But dude, the Chinese are building a robot that can run around in negative 44 degrees. Maybe we could talk about this on the after show too, to populate Mars. I think they're going full robot population.
That could be interesting.
They're just going to drop hundreds of thousands of robots and be like, try and take it from us.
Where?
The Chinese just developed some robot that can walk in negative 44 degree winter for like hundreds of miles at a time.
That would be kind of exciting if like the moon just turned into like the BattleBots TV show, and it was just like all the countries dropping in robots and just like seeing who can beat like who does like the Czech Republic just invents like a rock star robot, and they're just like cleaning out house up there. That'd be pretty sick.
dude.
Would watch.
It'll be
It'd be
televised via
BattleBots,
drone.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, people are going to be watching this shit.
Yeah, dude, like
gonna drop
Nigeria.
the Megabot.
It'll be like Cool Runnings. Like Jamaica develops just like an insane robot. It has like a week where it's just cleaning house, and then it like runs out of fuel or
And
something.
like they build the carpet bot that can like take out a bunch of bots, and like next week on
like Afghanistan
Moon
develops
Bot.
like the goat bot.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.